collecting on an unpaid bill with a non-responsive out-of-state customer. And so this is Rodney Nichols of Nursing On Call Inc. And he gave me a lot more detail that I didn't want to share, but it's a very sad story. And if you've been in business for a year or more, you have probably had to fight to collect on an unpaid bill. And so I thought, boy, everybody can relate to this feeling of having to collect on an unpaid bill. And when you've hounded someone a few times for payment, hey, when are you going to pay? When are you going to pay? What happens? They block you, and then they stop responding to you. And this is all the worse when they're out of state. So let's just talk about what to do with an unpaid bill. First of all, I'm just going to say this: be persistent, right? You're going to have to ask a few times, and if they block you, call from a different number and try hard to get them to talk to you. If it's on the phone or in person, if you say, hey, I just wanted to follow up on that call, I wouldn't be rude because that shuts people down. I know times are tough, and everything's more expensive nowadays, but it looks like you're behind, and I just want to know when you're going to get caught up on that. So you do that, and you're going to have a little bit better chance. But if you had this problem, you've known that while that works, sometimes you can only go so far. So the next thing that you can do is you can call me and have me write a demand letter. This works very well, and people don't like getting letters from lawyers, and so you meet with me and we'll make a strategy. When we talk about this, we usually talk about, well, what if they don't pay? And the thing is you have to decide if you want to go to court or not. The nice thing is in debt collection situations, you can often recover attorney's fees. Not always, but often. And let's just say that you've got a small bill. Let's say it's $900, right? And for most practical purposes, it can be a real challenge to spend too much time fighting on it. And yet, if you had an extra $900 in your pocket, you'd probably be a lot happier. And so these even small bills can be frustrating. In the case of Rodney's situation, it's a lot more than $900. And so in that case, it is usually a little bit easier to get a lawyer to help you. And it's also a little easier to justify getting a lawyer because the amount of money at stake here is a bigger deal. But let's start with projects that are under $6,500 in Iowa. That's small enough to go into small claims court. Many business owners can and should learn how to do small claims court process. And if you are a real estate investor, it's worth it to learn how to do small claims, because paying me to do it is not worth it because your chances of actually collecting are low. But you can get that judgment out there so that you can get the sheriff or the court or a debt collector to help you get that money. And sometimes it trickles in over time. If you don't have the time and the money and it's worth it, then paying me to do it is about $2,000. And then I'll go to court, I'll serve the papers. Oftentimes they don't show up, I'll enter the evidence, and then we'll get a judgment. And then we have to collect on it, which does still incur a little bit extra charge. But oftentimes, like I said, that $2,000 you pay me can be recovered. When the total debt collection is over $6,500, now we've got a little bit more of a challenge because we've got to go to regular court where most people are not going to be DIYing it. They're going to need a lawyer to do it. Some of these court cases can be expedited, but sometimes it takes a year or more to get these resolved. And I should say not sometimes, but oftentimes it takes a year or more to get those resolved. And so that is a slow, drag out process. In which case you still want to talk to me so that we can talk through the options. And sometimes I do refer those out. I've got a few friends that are experts at debt collection. And so if you've got a particularly tricky issue, we'll bring in one of those. And then now let's talk about Rodney's situation. What happens when it's an out-of-state debt? First of all, I do want you to start by talking to me. Reach out to me first because every situation is different, and and I can't give you specific legal advice without knowing the particular details. But usually it starts with me, and then we decide, can I help you collect on this debt in the other state, or do we need to bring in a local counsel? In which case, I know people all over the country. I stay in touch with many other business attorneys and debt collection attorneys. And so I have a pretty extensive network. I'm going to guess that I've got a contact in every state plus DC, Puerto Rico, Canada. So so we will decide if we need to bring in one of those people. And then if so, they're going to do that same process. They're going to send a demand letter, and then they're going to take it to the next step if necessary, going to court. And usually in that process, you're only going to be paying them, not me. So I'll do an intro and then step out of the picture. So that's what it looks like. I think that your most expedient route is to contact a debt collector. I can help you with that. So contact me.